Hello and welcome back to another episode of a weekly waypoint where today, I went, don't know what that was about. Today I have discovered another indie rally game which I very much like. This one more in the vein of a PS2 rally game as opposed to what I've shown off before with Old School Rally, which is more of a PS1 rally game. This one is called Rush Rally 3, and I don't know if it's like intentionally retro, but it very much does feel like of that era to me. I believe this is also a mobile game if that platform interests you, but I am of course playing on PC. I picked this up during the Steam sale for less than the price of a Tesco meal deal, but it's normally around £12 and it's easily worth it in my opinion at full price. And so far I've only messed with this mode, which is, I believe this is single rally mode. I believe there's also a rally cross mode, which I imagine involves racing against other vehicles. And then there's also some fun arcadey modes, like trying to pick up coins and avoid cones, I think, and stuff like that. So yeah, this game has a very nice selection of activities and also, you know, it just feels good. It's just got nice physics. You know, you look at it and, you know, if you're not familiar with PS2 era graphics, you might be like, oh, it doesn't exactly look like the prettiest game in the world. But there is something to be said about, like, more, I don't know, like, video gamey looking graphics. Not everything needs to be super hyper realistic. I couldn't tell you for sure, but I think the tracks are randomly generated. So you're not going to be running into tracks which you've done a million times before, or maybe you are and that's what you want as like a seasoned rally player. I don't rightly know, so this last sentence was entirely pointless, I suppose. Here's the thing, I didn't play rally games growing up. My dad did and he was awful at them, but I never played them myself. They didn't really appeal to me, but as I get older, I'm finding that they do appeal to me more and more, you know? Like, I very much enjoy racing games, and rally games are a fun variant of that, in which you are trying to go as fast as you can without losing control of your vehicle and slamming into a tree. Turns out I'm about that shit, but it does put me into this interesting position because I don't actually own any of these, like, more official AAA modern rally games. I have mostly been spending my time in the indie scene with Old School Rally and Rush Rally 3 here, and also I did pick up Art of Rally not too long ago as well, although that's a bit different because it's more top-down. If top-down rally games do interest you, by the way, this same developer, Brown Monster Limited, does have another game called Rush Rally Origins, which is exactly that. I haven't played that one though, so I couldn't tell you if it's any good. However, the Steam reviews do seem to indicate that both this game and that game are very good indeed. So yeah, not too much else to say other than just I'm probably going to be playing this game for a little while on and off. I just do enjoy it. It's great to like listen to a podcast or something while you're playing this as well. I know that last week people were recommending me to try the sequel to Motorstorm. I think Pacific is the next one, right? And I do intend to do that at some time, I should mention. It's just that time kind of got away from me and I didn't have time to set that up in the old emulator, so I thought I would showcase this indie game instead. But enough about rally games. What else have I been playing this week? Well, I've been continuing my Starfield adventures, but I don't have too much else to say about that. I finished the main story, I dipped my toe into some New Game Plus main story, and I decided to go and just, you know, start. If you saw my video, you know, you'll have seen me talk about this, but I decided to just, like, stick to that save file and just start doing all the faction quest lines, starting this time with Ryujin Industries because I haven't actually done that before. And I am struggling a little bit with, like, you know, merging my impression of the character I play with, like, the actions that kind of questline forces me to take, but that's just a me silly brain thing, and I want to do all the factions, so I should expect some flexible morality, I suppose. This is a problem in literally every single Bethesda RPG ever made. If you want to do everything on a single character, it's not really going to make all that much sense. Speaking of Bethesda RPGs, I was a naughty boy, and I almost survived the ending of the Steam sale without buying anything else, but actually I did go ahead and get Oblivion Remastered. Starfield and Oblivion Remastered are two games which I really did regret not owning and only having played on Game Pass, so I'm very happy to now have them both snugly in my Steam library and being able to launch them and play them at my own will, and I've been doing that. I've been playing some Oblivion Remastered, and you know what? It's pretty bloody fun. I will always be a Skyrim boy, but I do love me some Oblivion as well. And I will say, You know, Oblivion Remastered is rightly criticised for not being the most optimised game in the world, and it doesn't run super great on my 3060 either. I'm constantly tweaking with the settings, trying to get just a little bit more out of it and stuff, and also just visually speaking in general. You know, I've seen someone mention that it kind of loses the vibrant colorization that the original game had, and yeah, there's a lot of mist and fog even in like interior places, and I can see myself going back to the original from time to time just to kind of enjoy both versions of the game. But I am enjoying Oblivion Remastered, and something I really want to do is, again, play through all the faction quest lines and get all the achievements and stuff like that, because that's how I like to enjoy these kinds of games. But the nice thing about the Oblivion Remastered achievement list, and also kind of the detriment to it as well, is that its achievement list, much like its 360 version achievement list, is strictly tied to the main questline and faction questlines, meaning that I don't get punished if I'm achievement hunting. If I want to, for instance, roll a new character that's kind of like, you know, destruction magicka focused, if I want to go and do Mages Guild stuff and not have it be weird on my current character, who is a big axe wielding plate wearing orc. And that's nice because, you know, there's no achievements that are like, oh, reach level 50, defeat a legendary dragon, which requires you to be, I think, like level 75 to make it spawn, or do all of these extraneous things. It's nice because I don't feel like I'm being punished for rolling an alternate character, right? It's just do this faction questline. However, the downside to that is also there's no achievements like, oh, you know, pick 50 locks and pick 50 pockets and just extra stuff like do a bunch of side quests. You don't get rewarded with achievements for doing side quests. And I am going to do side quests because I want to explore everything that Oblivion has to offer and not just the faction quest lines. You know, some people will say that the side stuff is the best stuff, and in many cases that is true, but at the minute, because I'm kind of achievement focused as a player, I do feel like I'm kind of being punished if I go off the beaten path because it's not progressing any of those achievements. But anyway, achievements, they don't really matter. It's just the way my brain works and what I'm looking to achieve when I'm playing this game. And for anyone who isn't aware, you know, it's not about like, oh, look at these achievements I've got, aren't I good at video games? I don't give a shit about that. It's just fun to collect them and pin them on my profile as little badges. Those are the kind of brainworms I've got going on. I haven't quite forgotten Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I said I would get back to. It's just I can't have both it and Starfield installed on my system. I also can't have both Oblivion and Starfield installed on my system at the same time, so Starfield is taking a little bit of a break. This is the problem with having a small internal SSD and not really having the means to expand that storage right now. I did salvage my original 250GB SSD from my old PC before chucking it out, because you should do that, by the way, if you're ever chucking out an old PC. If you don't want your old hard drive, that's fine, but you should probably smash it up because people might be able to get into it and look through your files. And even if you don't have anything on there that you'd be like, oh, I don't want people to see that, it's still A, a bit weird, and B, you know, who knows what browser history stuff might be saved in terms of like, you know, card info or whatever. I don't know. It's just good practice to do. But I extracted my original SSD from the old machine, which long-time weekly Waypoint viewers might remember, because I did post a video when I had to get a new PC. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work because it's been in a shed for years and partially open to the elements. It seems fine, but I don't want to plug it in case it's not fine, and I don't know if it could cause harm to other parts of my PC. If there's any hardware people in the chat, do let me know if it would be a good idea or a bad idea. There's no visible signs of damage, but you know, I don't want to fuck anything up, because if I could, you know, format that and reuse it, it might be nice to have as like an extra small little internal drive. It's old, so I don't know if it's even NVMe. It is an SSD though, but yeah, it might be nice as like just an extra little bit of storage so that I can play more than one big AAA modern title at once. While we're still talking about the games I played this week, I should mention it's a new month of Humble Choice, and so I did choose to get that one because it's got Sea of Stars in it, and it's got Tunic in it, and it's got some other games in there which look pretty cool. And so I have started to play Tunic, which again is a game I dipped my toe into back when I had Game Pass, and that is a very charming Zelda-style game. I haven't got very far through it yet, but I'm enjoying my time playing as a little fox with a little sword. I also tried some of overlooting, which was from a previous Humble monthly choice, and that is a fun little roguelike where you're kind of managing like your inventory, which sounds really boring. And to be honest, that's not the best part of it, but it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like a deck builder without being card based. Like you've got your enemies on one side of a screen, you're on the other side of a screen, and you loot them when you kill them, and you choose what to wear and what bonuses to get out of what you wear, and like that affects the damage you do. And they've got different modifiers, like if it dies first, it does this, or if it dies last, it does this, or it inflicts poison, and so on and so forth. And it's a pretty neat little roguelike. I have seen some complaints, though, that the more that you play it, the more types of armor you unlock, and therefore the harder it is to form a build, and so you actually get punished the longer you play and the more you unlock, which seems like a bit of an oversight, but is apparently a problem with that little subgenre. So I guess if I keep playing it, we'll see how frustrating that becomes. Now, the Weekly Waypoint is not a news show, but last week we did talk about the death of physical media with the PlayStation, and I think it would be remiss of me to then glaze over the fact that this week's gaming news, or I guess last week's gaming news, is one of the reasons this is not a news show is that I do not upload it on a day that is when the news happens. But yeah, I should not be glazing over the fact that, Xbox just laid off a huge amount of people, like they told everyone they were going to do ahead of time, and they've also told everyone that they're going to do it again in like a few months' time, which is not a great place to be as a game developer in one of the Xbox-owned studios, because you don't know if you've got a secure future. And one of the things that is wild to me is just this seeming like oversight of how the people making your games actually feel. Like, morale is important within any business, but it's especially important in a business where the business itself is about creating art. Like, so, okay, I'll give you an example. For instance, I've seen some people celebrating the fact that Obsidian, after getting a quarter of their staff laid off, have been told to halt production on an Avowed sequel, mostly, and pivot towards making a new Fallout game. And everyone's going, yay! You know, Asher Sharma stepped in and said, what the hell are you doing? Make a new Fallout game. It's great. We're finally gonna get a new Fallout game, etc., etc., missing the forest for the trees. But if you work at Obsidian, if you're a developer who's just had your game cancelled and been told to go and work on something else, and watched a bunch of your friends lose their jobs, and you've been told that you might lose your jobs in a few months, but they're not going to tell you if you will or not. Do you think that is the most conducive environment in which to create art? Do you think you are going to get the best version of a new Fallout game from people who do not know if they've got their jobs in a few months, and who have just been told to throw out everything that they've been pouring their heart into and work on this instead? Even if these developers would have previously been excited to be working on a Fallout title, like, you know, like, can you imagine, like, not resenting the project you've just been put onto? And then another thing I want to mention is The Elder Scrolls Online apparently lost half of its team. Half. Which is insane to me. I have heard, like, murmurings that, oh, it's just like the PvP developers or whatever. First of all, I don't think 50% of that team worked on PvP. That's insane. Second of all, we're talking about people losing their jobs. First and foremost, really. That should be the main thing, like, losing their livelihood, losing, like, not just the project that they were working on, but also their ability to work in that company with those people. And in this market, especially for their profession, like trying to find another job, very precarious. But also ESO losing half of its development team is just insane in general. Like, that game, because I'm an ESO player, right? Elder Scrolls Online. I don't know if I said what ESO actually stands for, sorry. The Elder Scrolls MMO. I play it, I like it, I come and go, like I do with all MMOs. And I've been keeping an eye on where that game's been going lately. They've been kind of shifting their plans a few times over the last few years, but it seems like they had stuck on a plan that most people liked. Most people were on board with. It seemed like the game was moving in a positive direction, and now all of a sudden you've got developers taking to public forums and saying, we don't know how we're going to deliver on what we promised anymore, because we've just lost half of our development team all of a sudden, and we don't know what's going to come in the future. It very much feels to me like the brass at the top of Xbox looked at their portfolio, as they would call it, and went, why have we got two fantasy MMOs? Like, as long as they're both making live service money, we don't need to be putting all of this effort into developing new content for both of them, right? Like, people who don't understand video games would just say, well, surely the people who would play a new ESO expansion will just go and play the new WoW expansion instead that we'll put our resources into. And yeah, maybe that's me, but also, like, fuck you. I want the new ESO content. And actually, you know what, maybe that's not me anymore, because I still haven't finished a midnight leveling campaign, and I just don't really feel a drive to. Not because of the quality of the game, but just because of my changing tastes, I think. And so, you know, I think no matter what happens, they'll keep ESO going purely for the cosmetics store, which surely makes them a shit ton of money. Maybe they're underestimating players leaving the game if they don't get the baseline content that they expect. I hope that bites them in the ass if that's the direction they're going, but I think they are hoping to kind of not necessarily put ESO into maintenance mode, but to kind of put less effort into the actual gameplay content of the game, and just, you know, entice players to keep playing just barely enough so that they'll spend money in the store on cosmetics and all of those gameplay enhancers that ESO is guilty of. You know, it's not a pay-to-win game, but it's very much a pay-for-convenience game, to the point of, if you don't pay for convenience, you're probably not going to have a good time. But the thing I find so gutting about this, besides the human cost, is that if they are winding down development on the Elder Scrolls Online, that game's future suddenly looks very uncertain. And as a massive Elder Scrolls fan, you know, one thing I didn't mention in my gameplay portion is I've also been playing some Skyrim. I love ESO because you actually get to explore Tamriel, and the prospect of, even if it would be like a decade or so from now, the prospect of servers shutting down and people no longer being able to play this game fills me with dread is a bit strong of a word, but sadness, because there is so much good, what you would kind of describe as single-player story content, where you can go and explore almost the entire continent of Tamriel. Like, if you are a massive mainline Elder Scrolls fan and you're like, I wonder what Somerset's like, I wonder what Valenwood is like, I wonder what Elsewhere's like, you can go and explore those places, and there are good storylines waiting for you there. Like, it's not going to be a full-on single-player Elder Scrolls experience. Like, there's going to be differences, because it is an MMO, and that is something I want to stress to people. Like, mostly in terms of the combat doesn't necessarily feel good, and a lot of the systems in terms of, like, crime and stuff are very, like, they take their cues from the Elder Scrolls series, but obviously it's an MMO, and so you're living in this multiplayer world, and the consequences are going to be a little bit different. But it's still very much a wonderful Elder Scrolls title, and I worry that one day, you know, they're just going to bleed this game dry and shut it down, and you won't be able to experience any of that stuff anymore. And so one thing I really do hope for, and it's a fool's hope, I know, but I hope that they consider making an offline version of this game. I don't know how difficult that would be on the technical side of things. On the game design side of things, I do think it's pretty feasible. You know, it would require some minor modifications, but not too many. But I think it would be an absolute tragedy to let all of this world building and narrative, I really don't want to use the word content, but narrative content, for want of a better term, to go to waste. But when I put that on Reddit, oh, I made the mistake of posting to an MMO subreddit again. I was met with a lot of just like, they don't care. They're not going to do that. Like, oh yeah, sure, just I got a lot of arsey comments. And then the moderator deleted the post with absolutely no explanation given. I don't believe it violated any rules, and I've messaged him 3 times asking why, and I'm just being blank. So there you go, there's Reddit for you. I also got accused of posting it several times over the course of the week, and no, I did not do that, but I guess other people probably have the same desires as I do to see an offline version of this game, and I guess there's like probably someone just going like, why is this one guy posting about this over and over again? Every opinion I don't agree with is from the same person. So yeah, I guess can't mute me here, you bastards. But yeah, I know it's a fool's hope. Someone did post, what's the return on investment in that? And so I was like, charge for it. Like, charge for an offline version of a game. Charge 50 quid for it or something. I'd buy it. Most people would buy it, you know? Like, and it's the assets are already there. As like a development project, you wouldn't need to develop new assets. Game design, like I said, I think it would require minimal changes. It would mostly be like a behind the scenes, like almost major update level thing instead of like a new game, but you could sell it as a new game, and people would buy it, and people would be grateful for like a way of experiencing these stories. You know, I could do a whole video on a potential offline version of ESO, you know, like if we were talking pie in the sky, like absolute dream state stuff. You would be able to invite other people locally to host your own local server to do like dungeons and raids and stuff. And also you could do more of like a traditional single player Elder Scrolls combat rework to make the combat more fun for a single player offline game. They actually do have a combat rework project for the main online game, which does exist, but I don't know how well they're going to be able to execute on that now that the studio has been gutted. There are other tragedies to this, of course. Apparently they've decided that id Tech aren't allowed to use their in-house engine anymore to make games. They have to use Unreal Engine, which is insane because id Tech helped the first-person shooter become a genre, and their engine is pretty dang good for what they do as well. They are killing id Tech, or at least I've been told they've gutted id Tech. I don't know the full details on that, but it seems like a really stupid decision. Someone on a podcast I listened to, Bo Schwartz of Core, I think, they called it a spreadsheet decision, which I think is a very good name for it. Like, it's a decision of someone who looks at a spreadsheet and comes to a conclusion based purely on data and completely fails to take into account, like, the human side of things, like what customers would actually want and what developers actually want and morale and all of that shit. And it's just, yeah, I don't need to tell you, it's ridiculous what's happening, both at Xbox and in the gaming industry in general right now. Like I said, the Weekly Waypoint isn't really meant to be a news show, but I feel like I can't get through this week without talking about it right now. Hopefully next week we'll be back to just talking about what I like to talk about on this show, which is games that I've enjoyed and games I'm looking forward to and other things too. It's not always video games here, but yeah, last week's episode got a lot of views, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't know if this week we'll get the same views. I have pivoted away from Motorstorm, so who knows. But to my regulars and to anyone else who may be tuning in, let me know down below what you think about all of this stuff going on in the industry, and also just like if you want to leave a more positive comment, if you want to talk about more fun things. Do you have any more like indie rally game recommendations for me, like retro style or just retro style racing games in general? I do want that Tokyo Racer game, but it's a little pricey for me right now. But as I've said before, I think during the old school rally episode, I love that we've got people just making the games that we like to play in our youth again, but like, you know, obviously with some modern enhancements and stuff. But you know, since the gaming industry has pivoted away from these kinds of games, we're gonna be making them ourselves now, and it's nice that they still exist because of that, even if there was a gap of a decade or two where they didn't exist like this anymore. Anyway, that's gonna do it from me. I'm gonna go watch House of the Dragon. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I will catch you in whatever I make next.